So as many of you might know now, the council decided to not reveal PvP just yet because it's not quite ready, okay? But shortly after that, there is a lot of information that did come out, and Ben revealed some pretty telling things in some recent messages in Discord. And as we see these next few weeks play out, I think more and more things are going to be revealed with PvP until eventually the community is going to be able to see the game being played, and we're going to be able to just really interrogate it for ourselves, so to speak. But there's some really interesting leaks in here, some new details you probably didn't know about. There's many in here that I didn't quite know about, and more importantly, there's a little bit of indication as to when we might be able to see PvP and where the team is actually traveling on the entire PvP build. So I'm really excited to show this one with you guys. Let's jump into the very first message on Discord right here. So Ben is one of the lead devs at Illuvium, I think. I can't remember. He's very high up. He's very in charge of a lot of the things, especially PvP. I think he's in charge of PvP alongside Aaron for the most part, right? So whatever he says, you know, he's got a good handle on things, right? So firstly, the loop hasn't changed. Now, I'm not going to bring up the loop for you guys here, but simply put, there are a few rounds here and there, and then there was bidding rounds for augments, and I'll explain that in a minute from what I remember. But the major loop hasn't changed. However, our testing revealed that to be the best. So they've been testing lots of different iterations for so many different things now, and it looks like they've finally started to nail down exactly what they want PvP to look like. Obviously, this could change once the community gets their hands on it, starts testing it, but for now, it looks like they've nailed it down. So they're really going hard into building. What has changed is that they have concrete numbers and additional nuance pieces. Concrete numbers probably includes things like starting mastery points per round, how much health each drone has. Remember, your drone has a HP bar and it slowly gets destroyed, and if it gets destroyed, you lose. All those sorts of numbers, and even some balancing changes for alluvials, I would suspect it's coming. I think there's some in the community that are saying Adorido is really strong, Adorius and things like that. Goliath's obviously quite strong, and some alluvials feel a little bit not tanky, maybe like Arcalion. So there's probably lots of balancing changes that have gone into this. For the next bit, this is where it starts to get really juicy, okay? So if you're really liking this content, if you're enjoying the new PvP leaks, leave a like down below. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe if you don't want to miss on future ones. If you're not on the Discord, if you're not hugely focused, subscribe down below. Okay, so we know how many mastery points you get each round. Now, I don't know this, so don't ask me. We know how much it costs to recall and move units. Right, did you see that? How much it costs to recall and move units. So this is a big thing I was really concerned about with PvP, having played the survival mode, okay? Now we know with the different game modes, and I didn't know how they were going to go around it, but it costs mastery points to recall and move units. I can't stress that enough. So say you've got a Goliath and a Scoriox on the board, okay? And you suspect your opponent's going to play something to hard counter that, maybe a really big rogue or something that's going to jump to your backline and wipe out your Scoriox before it gets its Omega off. Now, if you want to move your Scoriox, or if you want to take it off and replace it with something else, it's going to have a cost to it. Every single move you make in the PvP game is going to have a cost, and you need to really play carefully around that when you're playing the game. You can't just stack your best team on the board in the corner. If your opponent counters it, then you're going to have to take a huge loss to start moving things around, swapping out your team and things like that. You're going to want to really play strategically, not just on round one, but into the future. Because if you have to move things too much, or if you've stuck yourself into a bad spot, then you're going to be absolutely screwed. So this is a really big thing that I didn't know was coming to PvP. Some of you may have, but I believe many of you did not. So this is a really big leak that I just really want to share with you guys. So we know how many cards you see during deck reveal. So the decks are revealed to each other at the start of the game, and we assumed it would be all of them. But now it sounds like it's not going to be all of them. Let's say half maybe, if you have a 20 card deck and then you each see 10 of your opponent. That's insane. Is that going to be determined by RNG or not? Are you going to show which cards you want to see your opponent to see? Do some alluvials have abilities that allow them to see more? We don't know that information yet. We know how many bidding points you get and how many legendary augments there are per round. So it looks like there's going to be a legendary augment every single round. This is heavily inspired from TFT, I believe, where they have those big augments that add extra to your synergy or give you extra items and all that sort of stuff. We're going to have legendary augments, and there's going to be a bidding system. Now, we don't know exactly how it works, but I believe I have a pretty good grasp on it. Basically, a legendary augment's going to go up for play. Let's say it's you get an extra granite alluvial for the rest of the game, all right? An extra granite for your synergy, which is pretty powerful. And now you've got a really heavy granite deck and your opponent doesn't. Maybe your opponent's like, I'm not going to spend any mastery points to try and get this. I'm going to save it for playing my board. But then if your opponent gets it for really cheap, like you're both bidding, say you both bid 10 mastery points, then maybe no one gets it. Or if you bid 10 more than them, then you both lose those mastery points. They would lose 10 and you would lose 20. But then you get the legendary augment, you get to use it. So if your opponent's got a heavy granite deck, you might actually want to bid really high to make sure they don't get it. So there's going to be a lot of strategy in play there, a lot of mind games, which is what I'm really, really looking forward to. Okay, so we know where legendary augment round rests. Okay, so maybe there's only one of them, hard to say. Or maybe it's in between rounds, I'm not sure. We know what legendary augments do, etc. This is pretty crazy. There's legendary augments, I would imagine, are really, really hard to balance, okay? Because they're so powerful, and if you don't get it quite right, the bidding could kind of go wrong and things like that. So it looks like they've done lots of testing to see how much they think people might bid for them and how powerful they should be and all the rest of it. And then that's going to be coupled in with the rest of the game to make sure that it's balanced quite well. So that's definitely no easy feat. And it looks like once they've got some of this sort of stuff nailed down, they're actually getting pretty close to just pumping out the game, building it out. So that makes me really excited. Things will be polished further as we test more and once the community gets in and voice their opinions, as I said before. Okay, so the last thing Ben said here, and he kind of disappeared after this, is it's a big step for us to be in this situation. Early on, we have hypotheses and opinions, and now we've gone through the first round of testing and had those things examined, we've made changes and they've tested it. Now we're in a good state where we don't have too many uncertainties anymore. Balancing the entire set of alluvials is one of them, that's for sure. Which is why we're now implementing and building, as we can fairly confidently say, build X and know what we won't be changing our mind anytime soon, mostly nuance and polish, which is where player testing becomes valuable. So it looks like they've got pretty much the rules nailed down. The rules are there and they're building out the game. And I can tell you that I've seen like a little bit of stuff about kind of what the internal UI and stuff looks like, but more importantly, I've seen they're progressing pretty quickly on building out the actual parts of the game. Now, I'm not going to give you a timeline. I don't know when these things are going to be ready, but I'm pretty confident that they're doing really, really good work getting this done as fast as they possibly can. We just have to be patient, but now that we know that all the rule sets and all that sort of stuff are nailed down or mostly nailed down, then we can be excited for the next phases of PvP where they're building it out, getting all the alluvials in there as fast as they can, getting everything looking polished and nice, or for the most part, and then still leaving some room for the community to comment, test, give feedback, and for us to adjust and fix things up. Most importantly, even if the community has things they want to change about the game, once you've got a lot of these rules in place, it's a matter of changing numbers or changing minor rule sets and things like that. But I know that they've got systems in place where it's not too hard for them to change out rule sets. They've built the code and the back-end setup in a way that's pretty decent from my understanding. So I look forward to the community getting to test this out and give the team feedback. But also let me know what you think about some of these new bits of information we got. And if you think they're going to be good for the PvP ecosystem, if you think they're going to be good for the game, or you think it's going to make it better or worse, let me know down below. I really appreciate it. And don't forget to check out this next video up in the top left-hand corner. Have a good day, guys.